We're joined again by Tim Dillingham, Executive Director of the American Littoral Society. Tim, what is going on with the monster algae boom?
Well, scientists who have been making regular visits to the Arctic to try to understand the impact of climate change on the Arctic and the Pacific Ocean discovered to their amazement a algae bloom which they had never seen before. And it was not only massive in size, it was nearly 100 kilometers or 68 miles long, but it extended to depths of 30 or 40 meters. Wow. So this was in a place that they'd never seen before. One of the scientists, in fact, said it was like finding the Amazon rainforest in the middle of the Mojave Desert, because they did not expect to find it there.
What is an algae bloom?
Well, algae are small animals that live in the ocean. They're technically called phytoplankton. They drift with the currents, and they really are at the base of the ecology of the ocean and the food chain in particular. So fish, whales, birds, all depend upon them to be healthy and to stay fed.
What kind of changes did scientists involved in the study see regarding the Arctic ice?
Well, the surprise was because of the fact this had never been there, and scientists are very cued into changes in the environment. And what we see many times is that when something's there that hasn't been there before, that it's a sign that there's trouble. We know that the ice in the Arctic is thinning, that it's melting, that it doesn't stay frozen as long, and scientists believe that that's very much attributable to climate change. So again, this is another warning sign that the warming of the climate, the warming of the globe, because of fossil fuel emissions primarily, is probably making changes that could be very, very problematic for the ocean.
Part of that, I imagine, is you don't find algae in a frozen environment like that. It only grows when you've got that warmth.
Right, absolutely. I mean, you think about the Arctic under good conditions has a big cap of ice on it, and that filters out the light in particular that's necessary. So what the scientists are finding are thin areas that the light can now penetrate, and gives rise to this algae bloom at a time and a place where it's never happened before.
And just to give our viewers a depth of that ice, it's about the height of a 5-year-old child, right?
Right. The ice is usually about 1 meter or 3 feet or so thick. So it's thick enough, has snow on top of it, and it builds up year after year.
Is the algae attacking the ice?
The algae is not really attacking the ice, it's underneath of it. In the past they found stuff inside the ice, but this is in the water below it.
Now, is that going to affect the way we should plot our use of the oceans, our use of that part of the world?
Well, where they found this going on was in Alaska, and Alaska is a place where we get most of our fish. So the fish you buy in your market often comes from Alaska. And if you start to change the ecology, there's a very deep concern on the part of these scientists that the fish will be affected, and therefore our ability to use and take value from the ocean, whether it's directly eating the fish themselves or all the jobs in the economy that are linked to them, could be negatively affected.
Sure. Or you might even see a die-off of fish that normally require that cold climate that's now warming.
That's right, and the ocean ecology is a very finely tuned machine, and when you bump something out of place, the fish will show up at a time when the algae's not there, or they show up at a time when there's too much algae there. And all that sort of sets off a ripple effect that nobody really understands what the consequences will be.
Take a step back. How did NASA actually find this bloom?
Well, they have an ongoing program in which they are trying to evaluate the impact of climate change on the Arctic and on the Pacific Ocean. The oceans are the fundamental drivers of our climate. We were talking earlier about the storms in the Gulf Coast. As the climate changes and as the ocean warms up, we see more intense, more frequent storms. So NASA is working with Stanford University, Woods Hole Oceanographic Institution, and other scientists to keep an eye on this. And they come across this algae bloom, as I said, which was unexpected and places they've never seen before. And that's a very, very significant danger signal.
We've had algae blooms in places like Florida and the Great Lakes that have choked off regular parts of the ocean, the aquatic life there. You worry that that could happen here?
Absolutely. I mean, this is a sign. You think about the fact that the Arctic is the place that we never go. It's as far from humanity as we can get, and now we're seeing signs that we're affecting that. So closer to home, we would unfortunately expect to see the same kind of problems.
Wow.
Thank you so much.
Let's hope it's not that bad.
Let's
keep our fingers crossed.
Yes. Thank you.
Thanks.